I am Brad Keelor. She is Menzer Pehlivan. Find out next on Director's Cut why she got to present to the United Nations. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Director's Cut. My name is Brad Keelor. I'm the director of the Geo-Institute, and that is why we call this show Director's Cut. Every 7 days, I sit down with a different GI member who has stories to tell. Some of them are personal, some are professional, all of them are fun. I think there should be some kind of guarantee with that, but there isn't. You'll just have to take my word for it. If you do not know anything about the Geo-Institute, I will not tell you that you have been living your life wrong, but you have been living your life wrong. We are a technical society within the American Society of Civil Engineers. We have about 12,000 members, most of whom are geotechnical engineers or geologists. If you like what you see today, and I think you will want to do two things. You will want to click subscribe. You will want to click get notifications. And after that, you will be notified every single time we post something to the YouTube channel, which is frequently. So with all of that out of the way, joining us from the left coast of the United States of America, from Jacobs, from Seattle, Washington, it is the star of Dream Big, Menzer Pehlivan. Menzer, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing great, actually. And you're ready for your TikTok career?
Always. I wake up every day just going like this, 21 hours a day. So we have 10 questions for Menzer, 2 of which are the same for everybody. And, you know, they're kind of predictable at this point, but we ask everybody. The first one is describe your job in 45 seconds.
Let's see, that's a challenge. I do lead the tunnel and ground engineering group here in Northwest, which is around 30 people distributed between Seattle, Portland, Corvallis, Boise. And that's one part of the work. And also I do lead the geotechnical portions of some very big projects that we are working on. And one of them that I'm very excited about is a probabilistic seismic hazard analysis we are doing for a concrete arc bridge in Alaska. In addition to that, I lead an employee network with over 3,000 members at Jacobs. And that network is called One World, which focuses on enhancing the cultural intelligence and the cultural inclusion across our company. I can go more and more, but one more thing, I also work as an ESG analyst for Jacobs.
And we will put a link, if it's public, to the One World site in the show notes below this video so everybody can check it out. We will be talking about all these different things that Menzer talked about in the remaining 9 questions of this interview. We must start out with something fun after that. And so we have to ask, think back. Director's Cut is always full of nostalgia, all the way back to the beginning of your life. What has been the item that you were the saddest to get rid of?
My baby bottle.
To which I said, how do you remember that? Because I do not remember getting rid of my bottle.
I was really sad that I had to get rid of it. That's why I remember. I was really, really sad. I love drinking milk. And it was a great way of me drinking milk while I was laying down. So now they come up with this new, like the water bottles and everything, which is basically taking the same approach. You can just like drink it without opening it. But at the time, they did not exist. So my baby bottle was it.
So a function over form in this case, or maybe form and function. The follow-up question I have to ask is that you mentioned you like drinking milk. You still drink milk now? As an adult? See, this is great because my family thinks I'm a weirdo for continuing to drink milk in my 42 years of age. What about the variations on milk? Is it just white milk?
Just white milk. No
chocolate?
Nope, no chocolate milk. I like chocolate and milk separate. And like we recently traveled overseas with a group of my friends. And two people out of the group went to go get groceries and they came back with like two like 1 gallon milks, and everybody's just like, why two? And one of them turned and said, she's here, she's gonna drink it all, don't worry. So I love drinking milk.
So another follow-up question. Didn't think you were going to get so many on this one, did you? Have you ever traveled any place where it's difficult to get milk, and how did you cope?
It's never difficult to get milk.
I disagree. Southeast Asia, I find it very challenging. The biggest containers that you can get real milk in Southeast Asia are like 8 ounces. And so I would have to buy like tons of little school-sized cartons of milk so I could have my cereal and have milk at dinner.
Okay, define Southeast. We need to talk about this because I'm planning to visit Southeast Asia this summer.
I'm telling you,
countries.
I can guarantee you there will be a milk situation, but we can talk about strategies to cope.
I mean, it's not that I cannot live without it. I can survive for a week without milk, but you know, also, anyhow, that's it.
So then we got to get into the earthquake stuff. We go straight from milk to P waves here.
S waves.
When you hear of an earthquake in the news, what are the first questions that pop into your mind?
Oh, extent of the damage. And then that's like basically because I'm worried about the communities that might suffer after a disastrous event. And if hopefully the extent of the damage or the influence to the people are not so big, then your geotechnical part kicks in. Are there any like the areas that liquefied or new lessons learned? It's just like, how is the, you know, the reconnaissance it's gonna happen? Are they gonna like find out new things? So like, that's just like the researcher part kicks in, but like almost always the very first thing. I mean, in the news, I'm assuming that they told about the magnitude and where it hit. Mm-hmm. If it's in a more populated area, what the extent of damage is, because in first person seeing how much of a disaster and how much of a damage it can create. And it's not just for that period of time, especially in Turkey, it's been over now 20 years, but still what happened after 1999 earthquake has an influence on everybody's life. So.
Well, that is great. So we mentioned dream big up at the top of the show. And I know you've got a dream big glass there that you should show the people.
I don't know.
No, you can definitely see it. That looks great.
Okay.
So if people have not watched Dream Big, I would urge you to do so. And I think Menzer, I think you would urge people to do so as well. Today, we're going to ask you whether you learned anything from your Dream Big experience that changed your personal or professional life. And I guess maybe for people who haven't checked it out, give a 30-second summary of Dream Big and then answer the question.
Yeah, sure. So Dream Big is a 3D IMAX film that we filmed during 2016, was on the theaters 2017. And the main goal of the film was to encourage the next generation, and especially the girls, to follow STEM careers. The way that I get involved, and I learned so much from that. It's just like whether it's changed me personally or professionally, definitely. But the very first thing that I've learned, even one simple state like the scene, to take it without even any conversation or something, can take up to 3 hours. You do the same thing over and over again. That's what I've learned. So I have a different appreciation of all the artists like filming these movies and, you know, the soap operas or anything. So that's the first thing that I've learned. The second thing is I was blind into some of the imposter that I had. And it was not until when we were filming that film and that somebody asked me, so like, nobody actually did tell you that you cannot be an engineer because of the way you look or so? My first answer was no. Then I'm just like, oh, actually started thinking, and it's just like, yeah, throughout the years and still probably now people do imply that, but I was not necessarily registering that. And after Dream Big, there was a significant promotion campaign, which gave me the opportunity to travel many different parts of the United States and even internationally and meet with regular people, and which gave me the perspective to realize that they don't necessarily know what engineers do. Forget about civil engineers. And we are not really doing a great job of communicating what we are doing for the world or like what benefits that we are adding to the society. And that had become, after that, a professional and personal passion to really distribute that message of like what the important role we play as civil engineers for the societies, for the communities that we touch in. So.
Good answer. I think also shooting the scenes and how long it takes, I think that's eye-opening to a lot of people. And in case anybody's wondering at this point, it doesn't take that long to shoot director's cut. We just kind of roll and then we're done. So you mentioned chocolate and how you want to have your chocolate and your milk separately. Here's your chocolate question. Hershey, Mars, or Nestle? What's your fave?
Ferrero Rocher.
But so is it everything Ferrero? Are you a Nutella fan as well, or is it just the Rochers?
I like the Ferrero Rocher, that just like that gold covered, like the golden colored one. Oh, also I like Lindt chocolate. See, I don't like chocolate and milk, chocolate milk, but I really like milk chocolate.
So have you gotten the chance to experience the giant Rocher ball, the one that's like the size of a basketball? Have you seen this?
No.
Oh, you need to look this up, and we'll put a link to it down in the show notes. There are giant Rocher balls that you can get like at Christmas. And
is that how you're getting like your promotions and the sponsorship? Well, this question was for sponsorship, right?
It could be, but you break through the shell and there are a million little ones inside it. You have to see this.
Oh, I have to see this.
So yeah, it's really great. I can't believe you don't know about this, but it's absolutely the best.
I mean, hey, I learned something new today.
So next year in November, when the Christmas stuff comes out, you're going to have to be on the hunt for that. I'm sure they have them at Target. Like, I know I've seen them at Target. So that's where you can hunt that.
Okay, you're also getting a Target sponsorship, I guess.
At some point, yeah. Or they'll shut us down if they don't want me talking about it. That's the other option there. So the other question we ask everybody who comes on the show is the story of how they first got involved in ASCE and GI.
Through the student chapter at UT Austin, where I did my PhD. I was initially, I think, the vice president, and then I became the president of the UT section. And that was around the time that we were forming the Student Leadership Council, which didn't exist before. So I did act as, I think around the same year, the vice chair for the Student Leadership Council. And it gives me great joy seeing like how that initial program that we sit around, and I think it was, I can't remember, it was like, okay, I don't remember where the location was, but like we traveled somewhere and then we sit around the table, talked about like how it should be, like what it should be like, and it just gives me great joy to see how great things Student Leadership Council is doing now. I think it's called differently, I guess.
So if you were going to give advice to students about why they should get involved, in their student chapter on campus, but to stick with ASCE as well down the road, what would you say?
I mean, it gives you like a lot of different opportunities, right? So initially as a student, when you start getting involved, you also start getting to know the professionals in this area. So when you are going out and looking for jobs, even if you are not necessarily in the position to look for a job right now, you start forming those relations. And as you keep being involved, those relationships grow over the years. So now every year when I go back to Geo-Congress, I feel like I'm going back to a family reunion with all the friends that I developed over the years. And I think those personal and professional relationships that you build through that, when you're involved, you also get to work with people you wouldn't potentially get the chance to work together with. So it's like a little bit more than just a personal relationship, but like taps into the professional relationship. And if it doesn't benefit you today, and even if it doesn't benefit you ever, at least you have one more friend now that you can just like rely on. And in other cases, it's a great networking opportunity.
And I'm so happy that you used the phrase family reunion, because whenever anybody asks me about Geo-Congress, that's what I tell them if they've never been, that it's like our GI family reunion. And I think that's what we strive for every year, to make it like that, so that everybody feels like their home when they go there. So people probably know about you, that you grew up in Turkey. You moved to the States in 2009 to go to grad school. So you missed out on a lot of amazing trends in the 80s and 90s in the US. Super cool things that happened. What 80s or 90s American trend makes no sense to you?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it doesn't make no sense, if it makes no sense, but like the point is, and this actually trend made it to Turkey too. So it's like American trend that made it to Turkey. It's fanny packs. I just don't like them. Like, I mean, why would you want to carry something right there, like, you know, on your belly? It's just, and you know, depending on your body shape, it might look even funnier. So, you know.
But I feel like that birthed this whole like line of stuff. Do you remember when people would keep their cell phone like right on their belt?
Oh my God, yes. And
like,
every now and then I would still see that, and I'm just like, dude, seriously, still?
Well, I had a very practical thought about it, and I'm just like, what situation are you ever going to be in where you need to get your phone like a half a second faster than you would be able to get it if it was just in your pocket? Like that's what I could never figure out.
I mean, you know, like if ladies were doing it when they were wearing a dress, that would make sense, like to wear a belt with that. Oh my God, that takes me back to the talk that I was giving in the GI Philadelphia. Do you remember that? I made that joke and they came in up to the stage. And
oh, and you had the microphone, yeah.
So yeah, anyhow, but yeah, it would have made more sense in that case. But yeah, doing it with a belt for people who actually have pockets, no.
So we teased this one a little bit in the intro, and I think you're going to come up with two places here. But what is the coolest place that you've ever been able to give a presentation? Tell us more about it. What did you present? Who did you talk to? And maybe some of the after effects of it, something unexpected that happened afterwards because of that.
Well, obviously, I did tell the answer to this question to Brad, and he knew the answer. So, like, that's why he's asking the way that he's asking. But what I told him when he first asked me the question was, it's difficult to choose. There are two. So one of them is in 2017, we were invited to the Congress for the Girl Day event, and I was able to, I was given the chance to talk in front of all the congressmen and congresswomen, which was a great experience. And I was like really excited too. So, you know, checklist. So after that, I get out and just called my grandfather, who has been one of the top supporters forever in my life. Just like, Grandpa, you know what? I just presented to the congressman and congresswoman and in Washington, D.C. at the Congress. That's so cool and amazing. And he's just like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. But you know, this is nothing among the things that you're going to be doing. It's just that's nothing. And I'm like, no, this is not nothing. Let me rephrase. But he always has been the supportive voice. It's just always, oh, among the things that you're going to keep doing, this is nothing. I'm so proud of you, but I already knew that you were going to do things like that. So.
And my reaction to that was, that's a lot of pressure, I feel like, because then you feel like you always have to keep doing something better and better and better. Which, honestly, should be the way we all live our lives. But still, But
it's just hey, that's me. So maybe he did something right. And the second one is from just last year, 2021. I was able to present during the UN Assembly, during the UN Innovation Summit, and that was as a result of a program that we participated as a company. It is called the UN Sustainable Development Goal Innovators Program. And they selected 2 teams to present during the UN Assembly. And it's actually a total of 32 out of 165, and only 2 from the US, which is the solution that we directly developed for Jacobs to create profitable growth for our company using UN Sustainable Development Goals as a catalyst. And the solution was really well received. We got amazing feedback. So I didn't probably in 2009, if you told me that I was going to present at the Congress or at during the UN Assembly, I wouldn't believe that. So those are the two cool ones. But also, as a part of Dream Big, I've been to many TV shows, and I've got the pleasure to do a lot of keynotes, present to so many different communities. All of them are great.
So I got to ask, how did you prepare for the UN presentation? Because I feel like, I mean, I don't know where it was, but going into those big rooms in the international assemblies is kind of intimidating. Like,
yeah, the problem is the room was as big as this room because it was virtual.
oh, so that probably took away a lot of the fright factor of it. But then in the same time, I mean, do you feel like it was a much different experience than when you talked to Congress? Because you can't read the room. You don't know, you're just seeing these heads on the screen, or sometimes not even heads. So how did you prepare for that?
Well, I mean, Brett, we've been into pandemic for, I don't know how long now, 2 years, over 2 years. So I think we all got used to presenting, and I do that weekly for like a group of people. Sometimes I present in front of 500 people and I cannot read the room. So you go with it. And
I guess that's a good answer, because I guess in my mind, I'm thinking this is this big thing and you separate it out from all that other stuff and it's a much different deal. But I guess you're right. At some level, it's a meeting. You're talking to a group of people. Yeah. You did your homework and you go do it. So that is excellent. That's and
I think it's just like it was a little easier because most of the time I go a little unprepared for my presentations with my non-existing trust in myself, but just like I'm like, I should be able to do this. So, but this one I was actually prepared.
So we have 2 questions left, and you're going to have to stretch your brain on these. These are a little deeper. We like to do this on Director's Cut too. So you're going to have to do a little warm up here. You have 2 choices. Imagine you have superpowers. You can do anything in the world. Mm-hmm. Would you rather stop earthquakes altogether or perfect our mitigation strategies against them? What would you choose and why?
Oh, easy. Perfect mitigation strategies. Most of the landmarks that you're seeing across the earth, like across the world, is just like as a result of those tectonic environments. So no, I will keep the earthquakes. I just will create mitigation measures that they wouldn't be disastrous for us.
So I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you were going to come up with your list of top 3 mitigation measures, and we'll narrow it down a little bit for you. We'll say that large urban areas could put into effect. What would be at the top of your list?
Basically the reinforcing the structure so that they sustain, reinforcing the infrastructure. So, this after the earthquake, we would still be able to serve the areas, and educating the people to do what they need to do during an earthquake.
That was very succinct. Good answer, though. I like that. So in our final one, we have to make you think on this one too, is since you entered the profession, I mean, you mentioned the One World Network that you work on at Jacobs, and this question is more tied to that. You were also the chair of our Outreach and Engagement Committee, which functions as a diversity and inclusion committee for GI. Since you entered the profession, what changes in diversity have been the most encouraging to you and the most discouraging to you?
So it's not just particular to our industry, but I think in the past years there had been, with the movements happening all across the world, there had been more understanding of some of the inequalities that more disadvantaged groups are facing, and there had been actions trying to course correct. Well, it's like whether they're done in the right way or not, that's questionable, but at least now the conversation is happening. Now people are aware. Now people are understanding and acknowledging that there are challenges for the underrepresented underrepresented communities, whether it is based on gender, whether it is based on sexual orientation, whether it is based on the color of the skin. So those are all great improvements, but there are still so much to go. There is just like definitely that improvement is not just yet done. If we're looking just for the gender-based, it is very encouraging to see more and more female engineers, more and more female leaders, especially in our industry. I do have, and it's where 3 out of 5 hires that I made in the last year were female engineers, and they are doing just exceptional. We are giving it more attention to within our company. We do have an action plan where we are requiring our leaders to mentor someone diverse from them, and that diversity can change based on like however you want to define that, because we find that really overcoming these challenges that comes to diversity and achieving inclusion, understanding each other, really starts with forming those relationships more than the D&I, like diversity and inclusion and equality trainings, which are also important, but you need to start, when you start forming those personal relationships, that's when you can actually start improving that. One part of it, which is the part that I become like more and more passionate about, is like the cultural inclusion. That is really important in terms of in order to succeed in the global world, because as a global company, in our company and many of the other companies, you're working with people from all across the world, and even in the United States, the culture significantly varies from like one location to another. And understanding that that culture, that background, is like maybe the reason why people are behaving the way that they are behaving, and you need to start pursuing their reactions or actions in the way that understanding where they are coming from rather than where you are coming from, because it can be significantly different. And the example that I usually like to give is this: if you look at a grasshopper, it can be a pet in one culture, insect in another culture, and an appetizer in another culture. So if the culture can influence like how you can perceive a simple grasshopper, just imagine how many miscommunications and misunderstandings are happening as you are collaborating, functioning as a global business. So really one of the focuses that we pay with One World is improving the cultural intelligence of our members, which is an addition to emotional intelligence and IQ. It's like the ability to differentiate what is cultural, what is situational, and what is personal. And I believe as we move from like these, like the specific, either directly gender-based or directly skin color or sexual orientation-based diversities, and start to seeing that diversity is like much bigger of an umbrella. It includes like much bigger circle. We start to improve our inclusive cultures all across the world, all across our professions, and overcome hopefully some of our unconscious biases. So I didn't necessarily directly answer your question, but the best, it's a difficult one, right? It is a difficult one. It's very promising to see more female leaders, more African-American leaders, engineers within our profession, but are they still enough? No, there are still sometimes conversations that I have with some of the colleagues from different firms, and where they say like, well, it's not that we are not hiring female engineers, it's just like they quit. So that's why, and like they still think that it's not as we start thinking of just like, oh, but that's what they do, and like switch to like what can we do to keep them? That's like basically, I think, where the world is going. And with the current trends, with flexibility, importance of flexibility, the promises of the companies, I think people will need to start to pay more attention to those items, because it's like maybe still in some places, which is a sad part, D&I might be looked at as just like good to have, not the necessity to have, and like we need to move away from that. It's not.
But I think I think one of the exciting transitions over the past several years has been how so many companies have seen the business case for this beyond just doing it as a feel-good thing. And, you don't necessarily want to have that driver, but at some level, if that's what it takes to push everybody in that direction, that's what it takes. And
yeah, that's 100% true, but that's exactly what I'm saying. So seeing the business side of it and putting it as a check mark versus really embodying it into your company culture and the way that you do things are the difference. So I'm hoping that we are going to go into embodying the inclusion and diversity as a company culture, as a culture of our profession, rather than something good to have or a check mark.
That is fantastic. And that was a very thoughtful answer. So thank you for that. I feel like we neglected to have any questions in this interview about Seattle. So we are going to ask a bonus question about Seattle. And it's not a difficult one. I won't put you on the spot too much here. For people who have not been to Seattle or who have only been there in a limited fashion, what are your top spots that they must go to beyond the obvious ones? So no Pike Place Market or anything like that, or Space Needle. We have to hear the good Menzer spots in Seattle.
Okay. One of my favorite places is called M-Bar, and no, I don't like it's the reason why I like it is not because it's called M-Bar, but there's also the part of it. It has 360 views of Seattle, and it's just like, if you're lucky on a sunny day, it has like the views for the old but Puget Sound, the Space Needle, Lake Union, good drinks, good food. So that's fun. The other part is I really like so if you can, going on Lake Union, in the summer, let's put it that way. If you're feeling like it, you can actually rent hot tub boats on Lake Union. Whoa. And you can just be on the lake in a hot tub. And they have like the music stereo and everything included, so pretty nice. The other one is I would go to Woodinville, which has wineries. They're like not necessarily Napa or anything, but small wineries. It's a very pretty area. So a little outside of Seattle, but it's like 20 minutes drive. So that's another one.
Three solid recommendations. I like that.
Whenever people visit, that's where I took them. So not too difficult. In addition to, of course, the place and everything. So
your friends are all watching this. Like, are those the only 3 places she knows? But that was good. A little shout out.
That would be a concern for anyone who actually knows me. So I don't have that concern.
A little shout out there for Washington wine. Not bad. Some fantastic Rieslings and Pinot Gris from Washington. Might enjoy those in the summertime. That's great. So Menzer, you made it through all the questions. You did it with flying colors. We hopefully learned a lot about you, and I hope everybody enjoyed it at home or wherever you're watching this. A reminder, again, if you did enjoy it, and you probably did because you're here at the end, click subscribe. Click get notifications. We will let you know every time we post something to the YouTube channel, which is super frequently. So Menzer, thanks for doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they didn't enjoy it, oh well.
Yeah, that's true. And they're pretty miserable people if they sat here through the whole thing and didn't enjoy it.
I enjoyed it, Brad. Even if nobody enjoys it, I enjoyed it. Thank you.
And we will see all the viewers out there with a brand new director's cut next week.
Shout out my